With the southerly winds this weekend, it's going to green up the bays and beaches, which means the fishing will be on fire. These warm winds should make the frog and the topwater bite for bass great as well. So get ready because the Texas Insider Fishing Report starts now.
Welcome to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Presented by Yamaha.
Hello and welcome back to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. We're your hosts, Brie Gabrielle and Captain Rick Murphy, along with your wonderful captains and guides to give us their reports on the weekend fish cast. Rick, you already said it, this coming weekend is looking like a good time to be on the water everywhere and in between.
You know what, the cool part, Bree, is they finally are going to get some southerly winds that makes the beaches nice and green. Ooh. All of those kingfish and wahoos that are not very far off of the beaches should be showing up. The snapper fishing hadn't been bothered for probably 10 or so days because of all the wind, so a lot of that state water and federal water fishing should really be as good as well. And not to forget, the bass fishing is always on fire in the month of April and early May.
Well, you know who else is on fire today?
Who?
Dave is always on fire over at that workbench. He's looking a little sweaty today, but it's all right. You got it together. I'm liking it.
You know, sometimes you get behind.
Sometimes you do, but look at you, showing up.
We're going to talk a little bit about waiting.
Talking
today.
about waiting. Oh, really?
Speaking about getting behind.
Speaking about getting behind. Yeah. We're catching up now.
That's right.
All right, well, we're also going bassing in the STARTRON Middle Fresh region, so let's listen up to Matt Losher and see what Sam Rayburn and Toledo Bend are producing for us. Go for it, Matt.
All right, Bree. I'm not gonna spread myself out a whole lot this week. I'm gonna keep it kind of just to Toledo Bend and Sam Rayburn. There's a lot going on right now. Starting with Sam Rayburn with the largemouth bass. It's a really fun place to be right now because there is a ton of fish being caught. Numbers are good. They're catching a lot of them up shallow like a lot of people like to do. The hay grass and the other types of vegetation up around the shoreline are just full of bass that a lot of them are going to be post-spawn at this point, and they're ready to chomp on an easy meal. One of the surest ways to catch them is to feed them a stick worm like that Bass Assassin Fat Job. Weightless is going to be the most effective way to present it right now, because the fish this time of the year, they like something up in the water column. So that worm slowly pulled across the top of the water, letting it slowly sink down through the holes in the grass and stuff like that. It keeps it up where they want it longer by rigging it weightless, and it's a great way to catch them. Natural colors are going to be the best, like a green pumpkin or a watermelon red. Mimic those little minnows and stuff like that are up there right now. Swim baits are another great choice. You're going to take those swim baits and just reel them across the top of the grass, and you can get some really great strikes that way. My go-to for that pattern is going to be the Bass Assassin Little Boss in the bluegill flash color. And you can rig that bait weedless on a belly-weighted hook. Bass Assassin's got a great hook for it. And just pull it through some really thick stuff. Then also the frog is always a good option, especially in the heavier vegetation where it's hard to get that swim bait to swim or the stick worm to get in the hole. Use the frog there. And some bigger fish are going to be hanging out in a little bit deeper water. Look for the concentrations of shad that are moving in and out and spawning themselves in about 10 to 20 foot of water. You want to be around the spawning areas, though. Stay around those flats where the bass have been spawning, because they're going to be staging their way back out from those areas. And these fish can be suspended around the shad schools out just in the middle of the drain. And then they're also using points that are going to lead back out to those deeper areas. So keep that in mind. Now moving over here to Toledo Bend, the bass are starting to change it up over here a little bit this week. It's gotten a lot warmer. Like Captain Rick mentioned, you got a lot of southerly winds blowing in. Seasons are changing, so they're starting to bite some crankbaits out on the offshore points in about 10 to 20 foot of water. You'll want to put yourself on the points and the flats that have the most shad, and just watch your electronics for those bass that are hanging with the shad school. Kind of like on Rayburn, some of the fish might just be suspended out there with the shad, kind of nomadically roaming around, not really relating to the bottom as much. And then there's also going to be some that are relating to the bottom around your timber and your rougher bottom areas, and those should usually be your bigger fish that are going to be hanging around that timber. There's still a shallow bite here as well. A swim bait's going to be my number one choice for the shallow bite right now. You can use it to cover a lot of water. You can do it all day long, especially if the wind's blowing. And in the early morning hours, you might find some fish feeding on a shad spawn happening. So if you get into those shad spawning, there should be a bunch of bass eating on them, and that's a lot of fun. Keep your eyes peeled for that. Now, I want to talk for just a second about a program that we have here on Toledo Bend. There's been a lot of good-sized bass caught this year on Toledo Bend, so I want to bring this up because we have a strong age class of fish coming up in the lake right now. And the Toledo Bend Lake Association funds a catch and release program that will provide you with a free replica of your bass if you bring one in over 10 pounds, alive, in a healthy state where it can be tagged and released again to be caught again in the future. So it's a great program. It promotes catch and release these beautiful fish so they can spawn and spread those great genetics. And a surprising number of those fish are often caught again, sometimes more than once, multiple times. So it provides some great feedback on what they're biting on, what kind of baits these big fish are biting, how much they grow, what areas they're using. It's just a fantastic deal. So support that Toledo Bend Lake Association and bring in those 10-pounders, man. Get you a free replica. It's an awesome deal. Just take care of those fish. So I got a photo for you of myself with a replica that I received this year from that very program, 10-pounder there.
Dude,
Nice.
what do I got to do to get that? I mean, I fished with you and I fished with Matt, and I can't break the 10-pound.
Man, they don't just hand them out at the boat ramp, but they're out there, right? We'll get you one. We'll get you one.
All right, tell me the crappie, bud.
All right, so real quick, crappie fishing's been a little tougher for us here at Toledo Bend this week, mostly due to the wind, but we have managed to catch some decent numbers, some good-sized fish, even with the tougher conditions. They're out in about 15 to 30 foot of water, and there's still a few shallow. They're not completely done spawning, but we've been catching them mostly out deep. Best way to catch them is a panfish assassin tiny shad near the bottom. Let it fall slowly through the school and kind of work it off the bottom, almost like you're fishing for bass, just worming that thing around on the bottom. Those little jigs just flat out catch them. I'm going to leave you with a photo of Amelia here with a big old slab she caught with me this week.
All right, bud, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Rodan Marine hotspots from the Middle Fresh region. My man says that are you going to go shallow? The shallow bite is on fire in Sam Rayburn, and offshore bite is getting better and better at Toledo Bend. Stick worms, swim baits, crankbaits are the tools for the job. Crappie are in 15 to 30 feet, biting jigs and minnows near the bottom. Brie.
All right, Rick, we're rolling with the wind punches in the lower coast region, so let's hear from Captain Chad Kinney to find out where the fish are hiding and where we might be hiding. Talk to us, Chad.
I tell you what, yeah, so we're going to talk. We've had some abnormally high winds. Everything seems to be running a little bit late here of late. So I'm going to talk about what you can definitely do if you're going out there and in those conditions, what we do here to get your best day out of the fishing there. And we got a few weeks away here coming up. We got the Shallow Sport Tournament, which we'll be fishing in. So we'll see what Mother Nature brings for us on that one. So moving here with the inshore here, like I said, with the higher winds than normal lately, try to fish some more protected areas. Down here in my area, be like South Bay. I was South Padre Island, Mesquite Flats, up to the Cullen House there, some of those back bays by Cullen. Also, the Brownsville Ship Channel, we don't talk about that much, but that's also a protected area and offers some different species that you can kind of target. So for trout, find some better colored water if you can. You're not going to find that perfect trout green water at all, but I've been finding some water or some little strips in there that have a little bit of green tinge to it, and they're holding that 3 to 5 foot range still. On the grass beds and potholes. South Bay and Long Par would be a good place to start at with this. We're throwing some soft plastics. I've been throwing some saltwater assassins. Still using that magic grass, but I've also been using that chicken on chain quite a bit here with the Eagle Claw 8-ounce jig head. Work those baits off the grass beds. You can feel it kind of touch up there, and then it'll go through the sand pockets. That's normally where you can get your bite, and work them off the drop-offs. There's been some actually really good numbers of some smaller trout in there with some solid keepers in the mix. Really healthy trout. All the fish we've been catching are healthy. We've been catching actually a few more males than the females. But remember, down here in the lower coast, we got the slot size is 17 to 23 inch, and it's in effect right now. And we got 3 per person if you're targeting the trout there. And then moving over to the redfish, they're in some really pretty good numbers there in the flats there around the Cullen House, also around the Gaswell Flats. These guys are getting that skinnier water. They like that quicker retrieve. So sometimes I can tell my guys, try to even retrieve it away from them. If you can throw a gold spoon, 1/8 ounce works really good. And if you go the soft plastics route, then I like switching to the saltwater assassin, but use a paddle tail on there to give you some more action, and then use the the longer ones, the ball tails and stuff with the drop-offs for the trout. Anything with that chartreuse tail really works. I think it gets a sight going and gets them a bite on there. If you find some good clean water also, you can try top water, mirror lure, Top Dog Junior works really good. Work those over the grass beds and the potholes also. And if guys are using bait, right now fresh mullet's been working really good. Cast in the potholes and, set it and let it sit there and wait for the redfish to hit there. Also, as far as bait goes, May 1st, this Sunday, we got a croaker season basically opens up as far as bait goes. People ask me all the time on that, so hopefully we'll be talking about that later next week. The Brownsville Ship Channel, there's these higher winds, so you can really get some live shrimp. Use some Amoy fluorocarbon leader, about 30 to 40 pound with a split shot lead weight there. Pitch them along the pilings and the banks. You can expect to catch mangrove snappers. Some snook could be mixed in there also with them. And you can also try a longer leader with a popping cork live shrimp along the drop-offs of the ditch there in the channel and around the pilings. What really helps here, I've had it here for a year or so, the Rodan trolling motor on my X3 shallow sport. Been using that. If you're fishing these areas or drop-offs like that, that really helps a bunch. You can put it in anchor mode and stay in one spot for the pilings, or you can put that thing on and even on 26-foot shallow sport like that, you can push that thing. It has plenty of thrust to push you even into the wind on those higher wind days. So moving over to flounder, we don't talk about these a ton, but we're seeing more flounder, not huge numbers, but I'm seeing more than usual being caught. And for those, look for your guts, of course, your washouts along the channels, especially if you see some bait movement. Get out there and use a little bit heavier jig head, about a 1/4 ounce jig head with a fish bite strip, or attach a fish bite to your favorite smaller plastic bait. Sometimes we use a little curly tail plastic. It works really good. Pitch a bait along the bottoms and drop offs. Just keep on doing this repeatedly in the same area. When you feel that little thump, remember to give it a little bit of time, quick second, don't take it, set the hook, and then make sure you have a landing net ready, or slide them on up to the bank. And also the flounder size changed last year, but we're 15-inch on the flounder.
Good advice, Chad. Thank you so much for keeping us straight. The shallow water sports boats are also, let's take it to the hot spots inshore. South Padre Island, try South Bay, Mesquite Flats, also Cullen House in the more protected areas from the wind. Brownsville Ship Channel is also a good area for mangrove snappers and those snook with the current conditions in effect. And then guess what? Offshore, well, when the winds subside, which it should be this weekend, I'd say the state water snapper fishing is going to be on fire, as well as anything else you want to do, Brie.
Well, there you go. The Shallow Sport Boats is hosting their 21st annual Owners Fishing Tournament, May 13th through the 14th in South Padre. This event has become known as the biggest and the best owners tournament on the Gulf Coast, with hundreds of teams competing for over $250,000 worth of prizes, including a brand new Shallow Sport boat, Suzuki motor, and McLean trailer package. For more information, scan the QR code on the screen or go to shallowsporttournament.com. Rick and I will be there, so come on out and have a good time. I hope the winds are nice to us that weekend.
No drinky until after the tournament, because we cannot perform like we should.
No problem.
Especially
you
me.
first.
Especially me.
All right, our Fish Bites Upper Coast region is coming at us next, but first, Dave is getting stuff done at the workbench for rigs and techniques.
Yep, we're going to be talking about wade fishing, which means to me topwater fishing. It's some of my favorite there is.
Same. We'll be back.
Same.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Fenwick. Feel everything. Bahio Sunglasses. Blue light blocking. Radically clear lenses. Garmin. Plot your paradise. Fibertex. Leaders in fiberglass fabrication and repair. Sportsman's Adventures. Fishing for adventure. Berkeley. Your fish, our science. And Skeeter Performance Fishing Boats. Eat, sleep, fish.
Well, as you can see, we're here at the workbench where Dave actually makes his money. So Dave, why don't you get right to it? Tell us what we're talking about, rigs and techniques. We had waiting last week, but I thought it would be really cool for us to do the rigs and techniques, not necessarily on a waiting show.
Hey, so there you go. That makes sense.
It keeps the love of waiting continuing.
Yeah, we messed it up, didn't we?
Yes, we did. We just left all our waiting stuff at home.
Texas is a great waiting state. They've got hundreds of miles, and it's just a great way to get out and get immersed into nature. Fishing in a boat's great, and you get to go to maybe some places you you can't get on your foot. But when you wade into the water early in the morning when the sun's coming up or when the sun's going down, it's just really nice to be there, and you feel like you're in the water. And when you're doing that, you get to learn a lot about the water as well. Your education goes up quite a bit just from the wading part. But when you pull up to your spot, the first thing you want to do is you want to get out of your car, and before you put all your stuff on and jump in, you want to take a look. You want to look around a little bit, see if you see some fish moving, maybe the bait's moving around. Some current would be nice. The presence of birds is always a good thing.
And you said car, but that applies for boat too.
Correct. If you're going to be jumping out of the boat and wading, it's the same deal. You want to pull up to your spot and take a good gander at it and make sure everything's going, because you might not want to start at that spot if there's nothing going on, and because once you get out there and start walking, you're committed. Then you're going to have to walk a little ways sometimes, so you always check that out. And you can also learn from just feeling the bottom. When you're walking along, you can feel the bottom, feel how the bottom changes. You start feeling, oh, I'm walking in sand now, and you start getting bites, or there's broken sand and grass or shell, and I'm starting to get bites. And pretty soon that comes into your head. After you keep doing that for a long time, you get to the point where you're walking and walking, and you go, hey, this seems like a good spot. You don't even know why, and you go, oh, because I'm standing in shell and sand and stuff where I was getting bites before. It just comes right to you. And it's also a good place to start fly fishing.
Correct.
Because there's nothing around. When you're out there in the water, there's nothing for you to snag on. A lot of times when you're trying to do it in a creek or something or on a dock, there's a million things for you to get hung up on. The only thing that you can get hung up on when you're fly fishing and wading is your ears or something else. I always get hooked myself. So
we found our spot.
Right.
Now what are we going to use, Dave?
Well, you're going to want to use either something that has a long reach for you, as far as your tackle goes.
Rod?
Yeah, you want to use a 7-foot rod at least, because you want to make long casts. You really can't see what's around you, deep into the water. You can see things breaking, and so you want to cover as much ground as possible. And that means you walking and casting. So, a 20-pound diamond braid with, even a 20-pound fluorocarbon leader is just fine for wade, for trout and reds and whatever's out there. But, I like to use anything on the end of my line that either imitates one of two things: a small bait fish or a shrimp. Those are what most of the trout and the redfish are eating. Those are the two main imitators, or prey that I'm trying to imitate. So all my stuff usually looks something like that. Actually, that vapor shad on there with that heavy weight.
Right.
You have to put that weighted hook on there so you can throw that vapor shad a long way.
Right.
But the vapor shad there, that looks like a shrimp or a bait.
Right.
Which is why I like it.
Yeah, because of the translucent look that it has.
Right. It can be either, they can think it's a bait fish or a shrimp, which to me is, gold.
All right, now talk about, guys in Texas love throwing topwaters, Dave.
Right.
So tell me about your favorite one. Maybe we start off with...
Yep, that's an easy one, especially when
Chapo?
a Chapo is great when you're searching, because all you have to do is throw it out and reel it back to you. It's also great for people who don't really have a whole lot of rhythm and can't walk the dog. That's when you go to one of your walking baits there. The jaywalker.
Yeah.
And, and if the fish aren't up on top, I like to use a Mirodine, a Miralure, something that suspends. These new ones here with the mullet flavors with with the skin on them, the CIs. Those things are awesome. Any Mirodine with an olive green back or a print on it is going to get bit by something. That Mirodine is just, I don't know what's on those hooks, but they're just so sticky. Everything likes to eat that Mirodine.
All right, so what about a spoon, Dave? Search bait.
Yep, the spoon is probably the #1 go-to for me. If I don't know what's going on in a place, if I get there right away and I'm trying to find something to eat something, I'm going to throw the gold spoon until I get a bite. That's a great way to find the fish. And then you can go bigger, if you want to do. But the gold spoon, you cannot beat it for anything.
One of my favorites. I've certainly won plenty of money throwing a gold spoon.
Keep it simple.
And they still eat that all these years later.
Well, there you go. All right, well, the story is the same as far as wind goes in the upper FISHBITES, or upper coast region. So let's talk to Captain Carl Weston and see what he has to say about it. Go ahead, Carl.
Hey guys, well, yeah, it's been a windy month. April's been crazy, but the temps are on the rise. Over at Sabine Lake, they're all the way up to 73 degrees. It's getting warmer, and the high winds are pushing some tides in a little bit higher than normal. They're pushing the fish back in the marshes some. So this kind of weather makes it easier to use your Rodan. Drop your trolling motor down. The advantage of shutting the big motor off is stealth mode, and you're trying to reach these spots in this backwater. You're going to need to be quiet because the water's shallow, the fish are pushed up. Now, as far as fishing the open water, you might try the north end of the jetties to score some of these fish. Shrimp on a popping cork and soft plastics have been the preferred bait of the week. Throwing topwater lures along the protected shorelines have slowed a bit with the fish scattering, but it's still a great option. If that's your bag, go throw it. You're going to still catch some nice fish. We got a picture today of Mandy with a really nice redfish.
Nice. All right.
Manny.
Tell us about the trout.
Well, the trout, they are on the move. They're chasing bait. Over Bolivar this week, we saw some really nice fish. It's been a little tough as far as with the wind. I hate to sound like a broken record, but it's been relentless. But the spring spawn is in full swing. The fish are definitely back in the backwaters. Now you're going to have to find protected shorelines and points to fish, as we've talked about. We'll go back to last week. The week before, wading is the method of the month. Bait, shrimp, and finger mullets have been our live bait option this week. The Bass Assassin 3-inch shrimp on a 1/4-ounce jig head has been hot. Also, FISHBITES Fight Club and shrimp in white has been awesome. The top players, they've been the top players of soft plastics all week. Now, don't forget to add a little weight in these windy conditions so you can try to get out there where you want to be. Got a picture of a nice trout here today.
All right.
Pretty.
All right, let's go offshore, bud.
Let's go offshore. The Dorado are here, guys. They've shown up a little early in the upper coast. And I know you're going to hit me with a brick. I'm going to have to say something about the wind. It's been crazy offshore. It's been our only obstacle of late of getting offshore. And when we've got out, the fishing is just awesome. I cannot wait to get out when we have more than one day a week and fish, because the fish are there, the bait's there. In the 160 to 200 foot depth, we found some really nice current breaks. The water's beautiful blue. Weed lines are starting to gather up together, and you know that's a playground for these fish. So the longer days and warmer oceans, we're going to see more bait in this area. Thrown along the breaks with a spread of our favorite, like R&R, mahi magnets. We mixed in some Islander trolling lures rigged with ballyhoo, and it does bring the fish to the spread. As we spoke of in the past, their trolling speed here should be about 6 to 8 knots. It's really a good speed. Remember, when you hook up, try not to back off too much. Keep them tight with Dorado so you can catch another fish. You can hook up 2, 3, 4 more fish anyway. And so our picture today is a little mahi giving Mario some chin music. I can't say that 3 times fast.
Oh boy, that's my boy Mario field testing the fish. All right, let's go ahead and talk about some groupers, man.
Back to the deep one more time, guys. Grouper. We'll talk about scamp and gag today in the upper coast. This is a grouper. It's a lot closer to shore. You don't have to run quite as far as like we did for your big Warsaw rig. 150 to 300 foot range is really good. The Warsaw and the Yellow Edge are out 4 to 1,000 foot and even deeper. Now, when we target scamp and grouper, we want to rig a little lighter. By this, I mean weight and hook size. I would stick with about an 80-pound test leader and 6 to 8 odd hook. As far as bait goes, live bait option would be a medium-sized piggy perch. And if these grouper become bait robbers, try this out. Rick, you told me about it. It works. Dip this with a little fish bite strip, the squid flavor, and if they get your bait, they'll come back. You might get a second or third shot at these guys. And we have a picture of a really nice scamp today.
I promise
Nice.
you will get a second and a third bite. What happens is a little fish peck it off, but guess what? The strip they can't pull off, and it attracts the bigger fish. Next thing you know, you're going to be catching bigger fish. All right, thank you so much, Carl. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the R&R tackle hotspots from the upper coast region. Inshore, he says targeting redfish and throwing soft plastics in the backwaters while keeping it in the stealth mode with your Rodan trolling motor. And then offshore, targeting mahi while trolling the current breaks in 160 to 200 foot depth range with a mix of mahi magnets with some islanders rigged with ballyhoos. What do you think, Brie?
Well, I think the wind is becoming an issue, but our captains are telling you how to work around it.
But it's
Sometimes you
supposed
just
to
gotta
be
do
light
it.
this weekend.
I know, but I'm just saying. Sometimes it's nice to know
You're right.
what you can do.
What?
It's fine.
Go ahead.
It's good. That's what our captains are here for.
Can you take us to another region? Or even to a commercial break? I know you can.
I can try.
Okay, let's go.
Let's go. We're locked, loaded, and we're ready to catch some fish in the Upper Fresh and GARMIN Middle Coast region, so make sure you stay with us. And remember to keep up with everything fishing in Texas. Make sure to head on over to our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and to see new fishing adventures along with reports, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Captain Rick Murphy. See you soon.
All right.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. Island Lures, Tournament Tackle. Rodan, set it, forget it, catch more fish. Sirius XM Marine, weather, fish mapping, entertainment. Shallow Sport, Berkeley, your fish, our science. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. And Penn, let the battle begin.
The POWERPOLE anchor is an awesome tool while out on the water. Over the last 20 years, I would not have caught nearly as many fish without a POWERPOLE on the back of my boat. One of the biggest reasons a POWERPOLE helps you catch more fish is what happens as soon as you hook a fish. I always have my key fob in my hand while I'm fishing. That way, as soon as I hook up, I can double tap the down button and automatically deploy the anchors. This allows me time to fight the fish, land the fish, take a photo, and release the fish without drifting into the spot and ruin where that fish was holding. I have found that that fish was there for a reason. Whether it was structure, wind, current, or something, it was holding that fish in that general area. Most of the time, I can fire my next cast right into the same spot and catch more fish. Sometimes I like to change the lures, fan cast the area, and really work that spot where I caught the first fish. I then like to pick up the POWERPOLEs just a bit and glide 20 to 30 feet forward, redeploy the POWERPOLEs, and really work that area thoroughly. Doing this will increase your catches dramatically, and that's your POWERPOLE tip.
You know, Brie, I can't even fathom how we fished all these years without having that boat control that POWERPOLE has given us in the last 20.
Change the game.
It really has.
It really has.
Thank you so much, John Oliverio.
And POWERPOLE.
All right, let's go.
Great. All right, we've got some lakes to get y'all on in the Upper Fresh region, so let's see what Mike McFarland says is good on Lake Levon, Fork, Athens, and Tawakoni. Go for it, Mike.
Going on, Brie and Rick? Good to be here. Let's first talk about the largemouth bass on Lake Fork. Our water temperatures are ranging from 65 to 70 in the main lake, with the backwater temperatures in the upper 70s, 70, 76. Main lake bass fishing is still doing very well. However, it has slowed down just a bit as many of the fish have moved into the spawning areas. With low water conditions and low visibility, they are hard to find. But you really, that live scope deal and the forward imaging, GARMIN forward imaging is awesome. That's what you need. So the main lake points and secondary points are best. Square bills, crankbaits, jerkbaits, small underspins, and even some topwater action is happening. The big swim bait and glide bait that we've been talking about is still there, but it definitely slowed down just a little bit. I expect it to return with the next moon phase. We're also seeing some really good threadfin shad spawn. It's begun. And be sure to just find the birds. If you're looking for the blue herons, the white egrets, the terns, and the seagulls, they all give a really good sign of bait in the area. And I've found that the best baits for those are small silver willow leaf spinner baits in plain white with a chartreuse trailer of some sort, and small underspin paddle tail swim baits in white. Just be sure that you dip that tail chartreuse or market chartreuse. That's really the key to get the bites. On days of low winds or no winds, also a small top water like a popper or small walking baits can really fire those fish up in those areas as well. I expect the shad spawn bite to get much better over the next few weeks. So if you're looking for those spawning bass, I recommend definitely the GARMIN forward imaging. Get in the backwaters. The spawning fish are at 4 to 6 feet of water on stumps and laydowns. And they're impossible to see in the dirty water, but that forward imaging makes all the difference in the world. So basically, the creeks like Bell Creek, Rogers Creek, Glade, Dale, Birch, they're all holding spawning fish. And your best baits are the common Texas rig creature baits, and soft plastic worms. So here's a few really cool picks of some nice Lake Fork specials that we caught last week.
Nice. Very nice. All right. Tell us what Terry Moon has for us this week.
So Terry Moon, the crappie queen, she is tearing it up, and she says the crappie are in full spawn and even some post-spawn mode. Some of the fish are spawning now in deeper water, 8 to 12 feet around timber. Jigs and minnows are producing really well, but just keep an eye on your graph to see how deep you need to target them. Some are suspended in 4 to 8 feet. Some of them are really sitting on the bottom. But as normal, here's another pick from Terry, and just a full limit's worth of really big Texas-sized crappie.
Tell us about the white bass, bub, quickly.
White bass, yes, sir. Tawakoni, Matt Cartwright. I haven't talked about Tawakoni in a while. The lake's 2 feet low with a temperature of 65. White bass schooling every day under the birds. Find the seagulls, the terns, easy limits with slat spoons and small swim baits. Hybrid fishing, it's really been fair, but recent big winds have made it hard to find them. Humps and ledges in 12 to 22 feet are best. And then if you're catfishing on Tawakoni, cut shad in less than 3 feet of water is really good. We can move right on to white bass, catfish, and bass in Lake Lavon with Carrie Thorne. White bass fish continues to be excellent. The run is still going on in the north end, 1 to 8 feet of water. Again, white 1 ounce slab spoons with jigs tied 18-inch above. Really paddle tail swim baits. Anywhere you can find the bait and the birds around the banks, you're going to catch those fish and fill some quick limits. Catfish there are also really good, 1 to 8 feet. Cut shad or live shad working really good. Not a lot of reports about the bass, although a big tournament on the weekend produced 36 pounds for 5 fish on Alabama rigs in the south end of the lake, deep brush piles. And that's some big fish, so pretty neat. One of my favorites now, I want to move on to largemouth bass at Lake Athens. Man, Guy Jay Barner is really having a good time there. Water temperature 69 in the main lake, 0.42 below pool. Bass are full-blown spawning on the beds in 1 to 6 feet of water. Great visibility, you can see them. Texas rig worms, stick baits, creature baits, Texas smoke, shad colors working well, and even a frog bite is awesome right there. And listen, here's a gorgeous suntan fish that Jay caught last week off of a spawning bed.
Man, Mike, you really brought the pitcher game this week.
Oh, yeah.
You covered all the region very well. We appreciate all your effort. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the upper fresh region. He says that Lake Athens, the bass are on the beds, and the clear water makes them easy to see and catch. The Texas rig plastic worms and creature baits are your best bet. The frog bite is also a fun way to catch some of those nice fish on the edges of the grass and on those lily pads. The Lake Athens record largemouth bass is 19 pounds, and there's tons of 3 to 5 pounders are like a dime a dozen.
Dime a dozen,
3 and 5s.
All right, well, we're talking trout, redfish, and snapper in the Garmin Middle Coast region, so let's chat with Captain Bink Grimes and see how we'll be catching them this weekend. Go for it, Bink.
Hey, it's been very nice to get a break in the weather every once in a while this April. It's really blown hard for us. I can't remember a spring where the wind has blown this hard. We say it every year, but really I've talked to all the farmers around here, and they've never seen it blow like this. But the good thing about it is we got a little light north wind this week, and we're looking to capitalize. The bays around Freeport, Bastrop, and Christmas Bay have fish all over them, all over those reefs. Best bet's been live shrimp cast on the edge of the reef, and there's trout and black drum and redfish on those reefs. And Palacios guide Ray Sexton said the trout bite on lures has been excellent while he's wading, working the south shoreline of West Matagorda Bay, concentrating on the flat. He said most of the trout have been hanging about 40 to 50 yards off the shoreline because we've had super low tides for this time of the month. Then in Matagorda, guide Glenn Ging, he's been drifting with plastic shrimp and live shrimp and catching trout to 7 pounds. Those low tides have concentrated those trout out in the middle of the bay, and then the reefs along the north shoreline of West Bay have produced with live shrimp as well. And then in Rockport, guide Rhett Price said those trout have been hit or miss for them. Low tides, the backside of the full moon, and the high winds have made it tough. But they're still catching fish while waiting on those mirror lure double Ds. But the live shrimp has been somewhat better on the drop-off. And then in Port O'Connor, guy Lynn Smith said the jetty has been holding trout on green tides. Sand and grass shorelines around Pascavallo has been paying off for waders as well. Redfish, we're still concentrating on redfish when the wind blows. There's a ton of redfish in the Matagorda surf. Most of those slot-sized reds are hanging on the edge of the first gut. Best bait's been live shrimp under a popping cork. Bull redfish are hanging around those jetties, and best on large table shrimp. The Surfside and Port O'Connor jetties are holding big reds as well. Some are using cracked blue crabs. Others are free-lining big Gulf shrimp and large table shrimp. The shrimp you have left over, you just take them home and boil them. They're those 9, 12 count shrimp. Tides have been kind of winter low. This last month we talked about. Some anglers reverting back to their January patterns. Some are working knee-deep water with humpbacks, and some are working Matagorda and Port O'Connor grass flat with mirror lure, Little Johns, and Bass Assassin Sea Shad. Guide Brett Sweeney said the low tides have been tough for him to find reds, but he's working spot to spot and chunking mullet on the flats and just waiting for the bite. He said the morning tides have been low, and it's been better in the evening. Traditionally in April, we get stronger incoming tides in the afternoon. Tossing live shrimp against the bank in the diversion channel has paid off as well in 2 to 5 foot of water. The diversion channel only gets better when you got those low tides. There's a photo there. Nice red we caught in the middle of the bay after tides had flushed all those reds off the shoreline. They started schooling up there in the middle of the bay. Go offshore in Freeport. Guy Mike Siegel, Real Thrill Charters, said those red snapper are really good in state waters. Been tough to get out there at times. You got to pick your days. Sardines and shads dropped in 35 to 40 foot of water has been best. Remember that it's still only legal to harvest red snapper in state waters. That's 9 nautical miles out. But our federal red snapper season is set to begin June the 1st here. Then Michael Quebeca, he's been taking snapper to 15 pounds on quick little trips around wrecks and reefs. Both of the captains said the kingfish and cobia and wahoo are getting closer. Those cobia are found on live bait, jigs, at 75 to 150 foot of water. Beach temps were about 74 to 75 this week, so those pelagic species are getting closer and closer. And that's another good week in the Garmin Middle Coast region, and we're looking forward to the lighter winds this week.
All right, thank you so much, Bink. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the mirror lure hotspots from the Middle Coast region. Bink says that, guys, trout are good for waders tossing Bass Assassins and she-dogs over the grass and the sands in East Bay. The redfish action is best in the back lakes on the incoming tide on that trip he's talking about.
All right, Rick. Well, we've got some big bass coming your way in the lower fresh region. But first, we're taking a look at what Dave Farrell has for new products at the workbench. Dave, do I get to take any of this stuff home today?
Yes, you do. It's stuff
cute.
for Mother's Day, and you finally became a mom.
Finally.
Again. So we got good Mother's Day stuff from Capt.
Yep.
Very nice. We'll be back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Tin Cup Mountain Whiskey. Turn on the bite anytime. Tie on a MirrOlure. Abu Garcia, Fish to Win. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. Fenwick, feel everything. Diamond Fishing Products, our reputation is on the line. R&R Tackle, from our tackle box to yours. And STARTRON, start, run, and store with STARTRON.
All right, well, we're here at the workbench at that time in the show where we get to talk about products. And
Yes,
guess
sir.
what? Mama's being featured this week.
Yes, she's going to be last.
Trying to give the fellas enough time to order something.
That's right. We're going to start over there, though, with the TH Marine cooler mounting kit. You know, when you're out fishing, you're going to have a cooler for your drinks or your food and the fish hopefully that you catch if you want to bring them home. So the TH Marine cooler, put your corner mounts down and your cooler stays where it's supposed to. It doesn't move around. Like I said, it's got a molded UV resistant four corner brackets and 2 tie down strips with a stainless hook on there. All the hardware is either the molded plastic or the stainless, so nothing will rust on you. Fits all sizes of coolers, and you can put it wherever you want.
Right.
It'll put it where you want to put it, not where somebody else.
Not where it slides to.
Exactly. Exactly, because the cooler will take people out. Anyway, we got a Jaywalker 120 saltwater lure. This is the new color called the pilchard. It's a pilchard color, which, you got to love. The 5/7 ounce, we were just talking about wade fishing. This would be a great bait for that, any type of saltwater, topwater fishing that you're doing.
The other thing that's different, we talked about the Jaywalker last year, but it had bass hardware.
Right.
So I went through the Berkeley line of products, and now we've converted over, and as you can tell, it says here saltwater,
Yep.
4 saltwater hard baits.
Yep.
So now we've got the Fusion 19 hooks as well as
3X hooks, yep.
and the split rings are stainless, so they won't rust in your
Right.
tackle box.
Right. It's an easy to use topwater plug. The way it's built, the hydrodynamic design. It starts really easy when you're walking the dog. It's really easy for a guy who's just starting out to use it as well. It's tail weighted, so when you cast it, it goes a long way. Which you want the longer you work that plug, the better chance you have it coming over something that wants to eat it.
That's right. Where do we find it, Dave?
Berkeley-fishing.com. You can find that.
All right. Now
Last
we get to
but not
talk
least,
about the girls.
Yep, we're talking about, these are from Academy Sports and Outdoors, the Magellan brand that they have there. These are the solid hybrid leggings, the Outdoor Pro Anglers. They got a new series called the Outdoor Pro Angler Series, and they're, really high-tech, high-tech materials, and it's made for fishing. All of them will say fish on it. They're moisture wicking. They got the Flex technology, UPF 50. Those are made of 80% spandex and 20% elastine, I think.
Right.
Two zipped pockets
on each side.
On the front.
Slow down, Dave.
I'm trying to go so
yourself.
fast. And then 2 regular pockets in the back. So, girls like to carry a little...
SPF 52
correct.
girls.
Girls like to carry their ID and all that stuff, too.
All right.
So next we have that's right, the Magellan long sleeve Pro Angler Gator hoodie. It's got a gator inside that comes up over your neck, plus the hoodie as well.
Yeah.
Pull the gator
They
out.
cover your face.
Yeah, cover your face.
And your pretty hair.
Yeah, and it's great for fishing. It's got a little pocket in here as well in the front. Polyester and elastine single jersey, lightweight, again with stretch fit. It's got the cool core mesh paddles under the arms.
Right.
And it's, great for, fishing or just
now, can you
hanging around the
imagine
house.
how beautiful our co-host would look?
She likes
in
that
this
shirt
coral?
too. That's divine pink. Is
that what it is?
I mean, diva pink.
Diva pink.
Diva pink
Describes Brie perfectly.
That's the women's fish gear long sleeve Pro Angler shirt. Again, the Pro Angler brand is new. Very comfy. Cooling tech, moisture wicking as well. You can't see them, but they have little panels in the armpits as well. Got a little pair of line cutters on the front here. You can cut fishing line, a sunglass loop, and sunglass wipes as well, so you can wipe your sunglasses off. With
nice. And also have the ability, once you roll those sleeves
you can roll
up,
your sleeves up as well.
so we can keep them attached. They have this way to button
Yeah,
to
yeah.
keep that from sliding down. Vented in the back as well to keep these girls cool, because we
Right.
know cool mama means cool love and day for us.
That's right.
Right, Dave?
That's right.
You agree with that, Brie?
I absolutely do, and the only reason why you like that shirt so much is because it's the closest to red, I believe.
Yes, you're correct.
And I'm far from a diva, by the way.
No diva?
Diva
Nope.
pink.
Nope.
Okay.
Not today, at least. All right, we're going catching with Matt Reed in the Lower Fresh region on Falcon, Fayette County, Somerville, Travis, and Buchanan. Take it away, Matt.
All right, let's get this thing rolling. We've got too much to talk about. We're going to start off with largemouth bass. Falcon Lake bass are still on fire. You want to concentrate early on the shallow rock to take advantage of the remaining shad spawn. Square bill crankbaits, swim baits, and chatterbaits are the ticket for that bite. As the sun gets higher, move out to 10 to 15 foot with Carolina rigs and deeper crankbaits to continue just the catching. Mike Bates has sent a report from Choke Canyon. The bass fishing continues to be good, both with numbers and size. He had several 7-8 pounders this week on guide trips. Hydrilla is growing really well, and it should be topped out in several areas in the next couple of weeks. Early in the morning, they're still up shallow eating shad. It only lasts for about 30 minutes. Chatterbaits and spinnerbaits are working best for that. Most of the day, target the outside grass lines in 8 to 15 foot with Texas rigs and Carolina rigs. Greg Boyd sent me a report from Fayette County. Consistent bite all week for post-spawn fish. They're feeding really hard early in the morning on the outside edge of the shallow grass. Swim jigs, belly-weighted swim baits, and chatterbaits are best for that bite. Later, you want to move out to that 15 to 18 foot of water on the points in the road beds. Get your Carolina rigs, soft plastic stick baits, and also the heavier shaky heads. They're working best in that depth zone. Lake Somerville is also doing well. Shad spawn is full bore. Lots of shad spawning early in the morning, and the largemouths are up there chasing them. Concentrate on the shallow rock and sand banks with spinner baits and shallow crankbaits. Brian Cotter sent me a report from the Austin area. Lake Travis is fishing really good. The fish are up shallow, feeding on shad also. Moving baits like square bills and spinner baits have been best. Later, you want to pick up your soft plastics. Still concentrate mainly on the shallow water, but you want to be around rock type, structure or grass or any type of stick up, some type of cover where you can throw that soft plastics up against it and continue to catch you some fish. Lake Buchanan has been fishing great. The largemouths are really biting good around the trees and the rock piles. On the trees, you want to flip creature baits. Dark colors have been best on the creature baits and jigs. On the wood, on the rocks, you want to concentrate with crankbaits and jigs to continue to get bit. Got two bass pictures here. Mike Bates and a customer. One of them is Mike with a great big one, and another one was a client from Choke Canyon this week. He's just been crushing them there.
So I got a couple questions about those big bass there, Matt. So, they're still catching big bass throughout the whole state of Texas. You're certainly in the southern region, and why is it that the bigger bass seem to be really in those southern lakes, certainly like Falcon?
We always have big fish. They're really feeding up well after the spawn down there. That bite continues well into the summer. Summer's actually some of my favorite fishing. But we have so many big fish because they grow all year. We don't have a winter time to where they don't, they'd have to go dormant. They eat all year and grow all year, so we're fortunate in the southern region to have, a lot of big fish.
All right, tell me about the white bass and the hybrids. I might have another question for you after you cover this. Tell me.
All right, Lake Buchanan, the white bass and hybrids are easy to catch right now. Work any birds you see diving in the water in an area, or you can find them on the piles of shad with your electronics. Drop spoons on these fish to have a blast. Like Somerville, got a similar thing going on. White bass and hybrids are very good on slab spoons and, minnow imitation, shad imitation plastics, and 6 to 12 foot off the points and around the dam. They're always fun to catch because they will stretch your line.
All right, so I do have a couple questions, dude. The first question is, a lot of the lakes throughout the country, you mentioned hydrilla in your report. They're spraying hydrilla like crazy in a lot of the southeastern lakes of the U.S. Are they doing the same thing in Texas?
Ooh, that is a topic that you don't want to get me started on. A biologist off the record will tell you hydrilla is the #1 habitat there is for a bass. And then they spend most of their career trying to destroy it because of the money behind it. I love hydrilla, but it does need to be controlled. A lot of the Florida shallow fisheries, it can take them over. Mm-hmm. Most Texas lakes have enough depth that the depth itself will, in the wintertime, will control it. So it's a great habitat for fish. It does cause some issues, so it depends on which side of the fence you're on there.
All right, bud. Well, if somebody wants to come and go fishing with you, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
They can call me, or one of the best ways is to contact me just send me an email at rfishtx@AOL. They can also go to my website at mattreedbrasspro.com, and they can contact me through there.
All right, bub, you did a great job. Thank you for answering those cool questions for me. Can't wait to talk to you next week. Always get excited about the Lower Fresh region. He says that the FiberTech hotspots for our Falcon Lake bass are still on fire. Concentrate early on the shallow rocks to take advantage of the remaining shad spawn. Square bill crankbaits, swim baits, and chatterbaits are the ticket. And as the sun gets higher, move out to 10 to 15 foot. Use a Carolina rig or crankbaits to continue having fun. Whee! 80 to 100 fish days guiding. Can you believe that, Dave?
Yeah, I have to believe it.
Like that.
It's just unbelievable to think that you could catch that many bass in one day with a guide.
It sounds amazing. It
Yeah,
sounds like a dream.
I think I really want to quit. Maybe I ought to quit this and just go bass fishing.
Don't
Be a
leave us,
guide.
Rick.
No.
Don't
You got,
do
you
it.
got live bait, you can do it in Lake Conroe.
All right,
Just
well,
go fish with our captains. You don't have to leave us.
all right, we will never leave.
Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you
Thanks
next
for
week.
watching, guys.
Have a good fishing time.